Hey friends, my name is Andrea. This is Journals for Breakfast. You are so welcome here. And I have an entire day that I get to spend just journaling and crafting today. There's nothing else on the books, and I am so excited for it. So I figured I would bring you along. We'll have some fun today. I have a pile of things to share with you. Um, and we'll take a look at the total 2026 journaling package for me at this point. We're moving towards the halfway mark of January, and I think I have a pretty good grip on what's going to stick right now. My traveler's passport notebook we haven't looked at in 2026, and traveler's company passport notebook, yeah. And I have pared him down a bit, and I want to revamp him. I took him with me to a meeting this week, and he was super useful. It's good, but it's time to clean him up a little bit. I know some things now that I'd like to add to him, so we'll do that together. I got a gift from my husband for Christmas, which gives me a bag every year from this company, Sinrev. And this was the one from this year. To give you an idea about size, it's pretty moderate size. Yeah. And believe it or not, just try not to fall getting into my giant chair. Believe it or not, this fits really well in it. Even though this is basically kind of almost somewhere like a large clutch, it's a small bag. Well, for me, it's a small bag. My traveler's passport does fit in it. So I want to keep it kind of pared down so that continues to be the case. So I'll show you what we do with that. I have filled up my Sandy by the Lakeside carry-all with all of my all of my 2026 journaling supplies, and it's working great for me. It's always amazing to me how much this bag hangs on to. I've got a bucket back here full of traveler's notebook size inserts, so that's what we're going to shop from to figure out how to set up this guy. And I'll give you a little reading update. I have another bag from Sandy by the Lakeside. She did these little fabric handled simple leather bags, and I really love this too. And what I've been doing with this is just throwing like one or two journals in it with a little bag of pens and just throwing this out at the couch. But I also took this with me to the coffee shop recently. Like, I didn't want to carry every journal I own with me. I just wanted to work in one. So yeah, we'll get him set up for a little journaling session for me later today too. And I basically have my 2026 journaling lineup ready to go. There are two pieces missing. One is a cover for the Paper Republic 2026 planner. I've been working out of this now for a couple of weeks. And all I can tell you is I love it. It was exactly the planner that I needed this year. This big A4 size. I'm starting to really figure out, I'm almost kind of bullet journaling, not like hardcore bullet journaling, but using stencils to create boxes and some tracking. Yeah, I really love this. I don't know a lot about the paper yet because I'm just working with a pencil right now. I'm working with a pencil in this in part because I typically work with a pencil in my planners because things change and I do not like blocking stuff out with ink or whiting out over stuff. I'd rather just erase it and put the change in there. But whenever I work in a new planner, I always start with pencil anyway because I'm sort of just getting the feel for it, right? I'm making those blocks and sort of deciding what do I really want to track every week, and yeah, what are the things that are worth writing in there and what are the things that are kind of getting duplicated in other places. So pencil. And as I work through that together this year, we can test it out and see what kind of inks work in it, etc. I have had a busy week. I did a knitting episode. Actually, I wore this shirt for it and it was so comfortable. Now I've worn it a couple more times because it turned to summer here this week. It was 80 degrees yesterday. Um, I did a knitting episode. That'll load up. It's just a bonus. Look, I'm not a knitting podcaster. So, but those of you who've asked me for that, I think you know that I'm kind of a rambler and I just sort of share what I share. And that's how that knitting podcast looks too. So keep your eye out for that. Let's talk about what we're reading. So I just reread Quicksilver by Callie Hart. So this is my reading journal. And I actually read, let's go back and find it. Okay. I read Quicksilver last year. It was the 13th book that I read last year. I don't know if I put a date, but it was the 13th book that I read. And I wrote in here in big, I can't wait till the sequel. I really loved this book, but I ended up reading 20 more books after this book. So by the time the sequel came out, which is Brimstone, I knew I was going to have to do a reread. Now, for those who've been following me here, you know I am a serial rereader anyway. It is not unusual for me to go to read through a book and go back to page 1 and read it again. Like serial rereader, not like revisit a favorite book every 10 years, although I do that too. I mean, I reread some books. And once a sequel comes out, if there's been a break between them, it's very standard for me to go back to book 1, read through it, and then get into the sequel. I did a 3-part series of books this year, 5 Broken Blades. And that series, I read book 1. Then when book 2 came out, I read book 1 and book 2. And then when book 3 came out, I read book 1, book 2, book 3. So book 1 got read 3 times by the time it was all done. It's just how my mind works. This is that series. 5 Broken Blades, 4 Ruined Realms, and 3 Shattered Souls, which I need to put a little write-up about in it. I loved these, by the way. So I had bought the original Quicksilver that I read in paperback. And when I saw that the Brimstone had come out in such a beautiful version, I asked my independent bookstore if she would order me both, the first one and the second one. And then they were a Christmas gift to myself. And then I can give the paperback version away. So I will do that. I'll actually probably send it to a friend in a package. So now I have this. So I reread this whole book. I just finished it last night. I'm so glad that I reread it because I had definitely missed. Now, it's not that I missed things. You know what happened is that this book, some of the storylines I feel like mirror some other books that I had read in 2024. And I had morphed some stories in my mind. Like what happens at the end here, I got wrong in my own memory because I blurred it in with another similar story. So I'm really glad that I reread it and I just love it. It's funny because I stay off of book talk and things like that. I don't really get into that too much, except to say I follow a few of them because they'll give me some ideas about things to read that I didn't even know were out there. And I know there's some that there's something off about this book that people didn't love. I don't know what it is. I loved it. I thought it was great. I think there were some complaints that like there were typos. Well, if there were, I didn't catch them. But I read for entertainment, not to critique. I'm not an editor. I'm a reader. And so as long as I'm entertained, I'm happy. I'm going to start Brimstone tonight and I am super stoked about it. And I'll let y'all know soon how those went. My reading journal for this year, we'll take a look at that while it's out. I went with this setup for last year. And I mentioned to you guys in a video about reading journals that I was going to shift that this year and go this way. Really just to give myself more room for quotes and stuff. This going horizontally kind of trapped me. You know, I could only get so much in little short blocks. And so I thought it might be easier to write in if I turned it and went landscape. So that's what I'm gonna try this year. So Quicksilver was number 1. I did put up here that it's a reread, so I remind myself about that. And I think back here, yeah. So I put the original read here, number 13. The reread here that with the new cover and that it was #1 of 2026 and left room even back in the 2025 journal for brimstone. But I will also do a brimstone page in 2026. So I kind of keep, yeah. So I kind of keep the two together, right, from last year, but I'll make it clear in my numbering that what year I actually read it. Does that make sense? I don't know. Yeah. So that is my reading journal so far. There is a prompted reading journal that I showed you guys in the previous video, and I will get that thing started as soon as this is filled up, and we'll take a closer look at that when that gets going. My carry-all from Sandy, and I'll show you this on me. Technically, this is meant to be kind of held this way, but I have such a shallow shoulder, I can actually throw it over my shoulder. It's really not meant to be a shoulder bag, so that's not going to work for everybody, but I'm 5'2" and have a narrow shoulder. So for me, I actually can throw it over my shoulder, but it doesn't matter because truthfully, it really never leaves my house. To be honest with you, it's just literally my around the house carry-all. Yeah. I have a bunch of pens in this pocket, a bunch of pens in this pocket, and then inside I have my happiness tracker, which we've talked about. I'm really enjoying being back into this year, you guys. There's my happiness tracking for 2026. I need to get some new collage work in here. I like doing collage right in here too. So my happiness tracker is in there. I showed you guys my big clean out of my Hobonichi drawer pocket. And so that's in there, and I really love having that with me. It's got stickers and stencils, and so it's just handy. And then right now, and my reading journal was in here, and this monster, which you guys have seen before, which is a small planner from Barnes and Noble. We took a look at that together. And then a notebook, just a plain notebook, and it's from Lystrom. Am I saying that correctly? Probably not. Georgia. I do my best. So this big chonker, and I think we're going to do a clean out on him too. I'm just not sure what I'm doing with him exactly. So yeah, we'll maybe tidy him up a little bit today. I have all of my brush pens in this, and that's in there. So yeah, it's kind of unbelievable. It's called a carry-all, and we're not kidding. It carries so much. I'll stack it over here, what I've been putting in here. I've actually been putting this in here too. So here's what all goes in the carry-all. That, and that. That stack works in this bag. And then if I'm going out to the couch to watch a movie with my husband, sometimes I'll grab this guy and I'll just be like, yeah, I need to do a little happiness tracking. And then I'll snag my little guy and update my reading journal I finished last night. I'll throw a few things in there and just carry that out there with me. So it's been a really handy combo of setups. And then, like I said, if I go to a cafe or something, I just take this with one journal and a bag of pens and just limit myself. You know, I don't want to take luggage to a cafe. And then this bad boy is full of Traveler's notebook inserts. And I want to redo that notebook with you guys. So let's get on that. I'm trying to think if I had any major updates to share with you this week. Oh, I know. Last week we talked about our word of the year, and thank you so much for all of your amazing comments. Many of you commented with your word of the year. It was so inspiring. I love hearing them all. And so at the end of this video, if you want to stick around to the end and do a little journaling with me, rather than a tarot card this week, I'm going to read the words that viewers submitted as their word of the year. And then I use those words to put together a little like 2-3 sentence prompt for our journals. So towards the end of this video, we'll get there and you can get out a pen and paper if you'd like to. I'll also put that little prompt in our description below. I'll list all the words of the year that you guys submitted and then the little prompt in the description box as well. And so if you want to do a little journaling on that, that'll be our prompt this week. So that's it. I am super hyped for this day of just creating and sharing with you guys. And I'm super happy you're here. All right, let's get started. Okay, so let's take a look at this traveler's notebook. If you've been here a while, you're very familiar with my traveler's passport setup. And originally, oh, these are some fireworks I was trying to paint. And then make little New Year's cards out of them. You're familiar with my little passport setup here. I have a plastic pocket insert that has a couple photos and some stickers and things. This is my little carry it with me reading journal, meaning it doesn't have anything super exciting in it. It just tells you what I've read, so that when I'm out in the wild and somebody says, "What did you read last week?" I can answer the question, because to be honest with you, it is easy for me to kind of draw a blank sometimes. So that helps with that. I have a little basic calendar. It just shows what's coming up, right? Just one kind of thing at a time. This isn't a big in-depth planner. And I actually need to fill it in for a few more things for next week. There's February. And they're just blank day pages, or excuse me, blank month pages. So you can just fill them in as you want to. It's unusual for me to miss a month in this, but if you did, it wouldn't matter. Then I have this little notebook here that I just put in here the other day. That's just mixed paper from Just G Paper Company in California. I've mentioned her many times on this channel, and I'll put her link below. She's an Etsy shop. And then I have this craft paper that is often just a to-do list. And then sometimes I end up writing some quotes in it. So it just varies. And what I'll say is, one, there's only 2 pages left in this. So it's time to change it out. And oh, look at that. It's time to re-examine our relationship to digital connection. You know, that's a big premise for me in my practice. Getting through my burnout that was so deep 6 years ago required that I really re-examine my relationship with digital connection. And in time, I developed a system of journaling and creating first thing in the morning before I ever touch a phone or ever touch a computer. And that is the premise of the concept that I share with you here, which is create before consumption. And consumption for me is screens. So I always have to do something every day before I ever touch a phone or a computer. And it's just been an incredible change to my just general functionality, to my joy, to my life. Anyway, that's a quote that just sort of sticks with me. Yeah, I think it's time to get this guy out. Now, when I showed this to you last year, I actually had 2 books in here somehow. I don't know how I had them in, but I had this guy in and this guy in, and it was a monster. It was a really big, chonky thing. But because I'm focusing on keeping true to the idea that he can fit in this, I want to keep him pretty trimmed down. And in his current condition, sorry, I'm banging around. I can't see because of where I have the camera. And in his current condition, move this out of the way. He does actually fit very nicely in here. Zip right up. Not bulky, doesn't bulk it out. Yeah, so I do like having him available. And in part because he's got that little mini calendar in him. But I'm forever finding quotes and things like that I just want to jot down. So I want to clean him up. But I did notice this week when I was using him at a meeting, he was handy because I was able to access my calendar. And I threw a quote in here that we referred back to during the meeting. But I am missing some of the creative side. So this guy had a lot more of my just random collage sticker pages, you know, the stuff, the just simple creation for the sake of creating outlet. It's not available in there in this format right now. So I think I want to shift that. And add some of that to it. This is another just all collage kind of book. So I could just add him too. Let's see how full this one is though. Does it have room for me to add more to it? I was testing this paper for watercolor, and as you can see, I think it does okay with it. It's not bad, but I have an actual watercolor passport size notebook that I'd rather use, I think. This is fun to look back through. I haven't looked at this in a little while. Yeah, that's nice. These are the simple abundance words for living: harmony, joy, order, abundance, beauty, simplicity. If you're reading Simple Abundance this year, then you've probably already come across those in the January readings as she sort of lays out some of her ideas about the book. I'm wondering if this just got full, if that's why I pulled it out. It looks like there's a few more pages, but see, not many. Yeah, because this was really thick cardstock paper. Yeah, there's only 3 pages really left for collage, so I guess I'll just collage on it and add it to the bucket O used books. This one is from Traveler's Company, I think. No, maybe it's not. Anyway, it's actual watercolor paper. It's really meant for watercoloring in this size. So I did one test page. Oh, started a test page. Oh, I need to finish this painting. All right, so I started a test page to see how it took the water, and it's good. See, I don't know if you can tell, but in this one, the paint kind of sits on it, and this one I'm getting actual watercolor paper results, like it's soaking into it. So yeah, I want to keep this going, but the question I have for myself is, am I really going to watercolor out of this book? You know what I mean? I don't know that I am. So I have a thought about that. Let's put him aside. Okay, let's take a look at the bucket. Oh, bucket, oh, bucket. These are all of my passport size inserts, kind of from here down. And some of them are used. I already filled them in. We've looked through this bucket together before. This is an old calendar, I think. Yeah, it was a weekly and I wasn't using it. So, you know, I didn't get rid of it because it's an undated weekly. Like if I decide I need a weekly, I can go back into it, start it back up. This was another weekly, and this one is full, I think is what happened. I think I got that one pretty well filled out and then pulled it. A few pages in the back. I guess sometimes too, I just get tired of the artwork, right? I've just looked at it enough that it's time to move on. But you can see why I don't throw them away. I mean, they are fun to look at. Okay, every time I pull this book out, I make y'all look through, this bucket out, I make y'all look through all these with me. A couple options we could consider. One is these sketchbooks from the big box art store. They do fit in, that's what these are. They do fit in my passport. They're a little long, but they do fit. So that's a possibility. I could just start a new collage, quotes, paint, whatever in one of these. So let's pull that out. The other thing is I have another of that craft paper, like I'm just now about to run out of. I've told y'all before that brown blank paper, craft paper, it kind of shuts me down a little bit. I don't know how else to describe it. So I think I'll take a break from that for now. This is another Just G mixed papers, but I have one in there right now. So I'll just save this for future. This is a dot grid, which is one of my favorite things. Let's pull him out. All right, let's see what those two do for us for a revamp. I'm going to pull my pen out of here for the moment. and see what a revamp might look like in here. So now you'll have to watch me fiddle with this. Okay, so this is the Just G mixed paper. I feel like I want to keep that in there. I love my little plastic thing. I don't know. It just helps store little photos and cards and stuff. So I'll keep that in there. This guy, this band goes with that. This guy is just basically full. I think it's just time to say goodbye, in part because I just filled him up. I just don't think you can go to the bucket of don't throw it away because you got some pretty stuff in there. But also it's just too full to keep it going. That's what I'm guessing. Okay, away he goes to the bucket. Okay, because I've been carrying this in my purse kind of like a wallet, a friend gave me a really nice gift card, so I've kept that in there. I don't know that I need to right now though. And I wanted my receipt for my new glasses. But now that I've picked them up, boink, I don't really need to worry about that. I have been thinking for a while about collections in my life. I bought one of these little guys and I just love it so much. And a girlfriend sent me a couple more. And they're on my bookshelf in my bedroom and they're really cool, but I'm careful about collectibles because they're hard to clean, they create clutter, and most of us, I'm 54, most of us at this point are getting rid of, not adding to. But one thing that I thought would be a nice treat for me is to start collecting fine perfumes. I have worked in the food industry for so long that perfume was something that I had to just put on the back shelf and say, one day you can be a part of my life again. But I adore scents and I adore perfumes, and I have since I was a tiny little girl. I've always loved them. So I am thinking about that being something that I quote unquote collect, which means, you know, like you could get one once a year or once every 6 months or something and build a slow but really well curated collection. And a friend of ours does a advent calendar for us every year, and she put some sample perfumes in for me. And this particular one, this Chloe, the second it went on me, I said, that's going to be the first one that I buy for my perfume collection. So that's in there. I want to keep the calendar, obviously, because that's handy. I actually need to add something to the 29th based on that meeting the other day. So let's see what we think about these. My fear with this is I just don't feel like I'm going to be doing any painting out of my traveler's notebook. And like I said, I have another cover for him we could think about. So we'll look at that. This is the big, like, sorry, I banged into the mic, Hobby Lobby sketchbook. And I've carried these in my passport many times. As you can see, it's a bit taller. Right? See the space there? Than the actual traveler's inserts, but he works well. And it is really nice mixed media paper. You can paint on this, you can collage on this, you can write on this. So I think we've already decided that that's a winner. But the other thing I really like to keep in this book is a to-do list. And what happened with that craft paper one is that I was doing to-do lists and quotes and other stuff all in one thing. And I don't know if I love that as much. But a perfect little dot grid page for to-do list. This was my original love of Passport anyway. This was my favorite thing. So I think I might go back to that. Let's see where he'll fit comfortably. Where will he fit comfortably? Probably right here. I'll just strap that band on there. And then I have my dot grid to do. I'm already itching to put collage on that. That blank page is just like screaming out to me. I like that, don't you? Let's see how he feels when we fold him up. Oh, still really compact. That's really nice. I think we're going to live with that for a minute. And Let's check him. Does he fit into our bag? Happily. At that size. Yeah, no problemo. Zip. No problemo. And now I have a true collage quotes art to-dos, just to-dos calendar. So the only thing that didn't make it was the mixed media. Does she need a spot in here? Oh no. She could go in here. Yeah, it actually fits in that pocket. Let's live with that. Let's see how that does for now. And I'll do some decorating on that in a little bit, which I absolutely cannot wait. I'm just so excited for. We'll see how that does. Okay, so that was Traveler's Passport Practical, right? That's the guy that's just going to go with me everywhere that I go. These are Traveler's Passport art. So here's the one we just looked at that we decided was just basically had gotten filled up. I've got a couple pages in there I can do a little stuff in. So we'll work on him. This is one I've shown y'all before. It's that same sketch pad and it's just full of collage. And he has a few more pages left that I can work into. These don't go anywhere with me. This is just stay here. When you're in the mood for a little bit of collage, I mean, you can see the size. It's so nice, right? You get your art on, but there's no pressure for a giant piece of artwork for that day. I wonder if I want to put this guy that still has a few pages in him back in here. Maybe I do. Let me double him up in there. And just make him sort of a known little art book. This is another leather cover from Windrose Custom Goods, and it has one notebook in it, but the notebook just got so chonky because it's all collage. And these were all specific to tarot card readings. So they're collage, but they're collage based on a reading that morning. So it's unusual for me to theme things out, but that's what that was based on. And I might slide this watercolor book in here. Yeah. And maybe what I'll do is give myself the option now to do some collage based on tarot card readings or a painting based on, and see if that inspires me this year for something a little different. So those are the art based ones. And I think I'm just going to leave them exactly as that. They'll just stay here. And when I'm in the mood, like I am today, I can go to town, but they don't need to travel with me. Of course, if I want to travel with any of them, if I were going to go out of town for a few days, I could reorganize these a little bit and take an art one in a nice cover. But I think for my purposes right now, that'll do it. So I'm just having a very crafty, collagey kind of morning here. And this is that blank, or not blank, it's the undated calendar I showed you from my travelers. And there were a couple blank pages in here. So covered those up. And I'll keep working on that. I like adding to stuff. And I've just gotten this one started. And I just pulled out a heap of stuff and have been having fun poking around. I wanted to mention, I've got a bunch of washi in here I'm going to use on this real quick. I wanted to mention that in the beginning of this video, I said my 2026 lineup is pretty good. I'm missing two things. One of them is a cover for the Paper Republic A4 planner that I showed you. And I mentioned last week that in part I'm holding off because Sandy from By the Lakeside is launching leather A4 covers. And So I'm going to see if I make it to her launch. She'll do a update on her website and a shop update. And if I make it, great, I'll grab a cover. And if I don't, I could hold out and wait for another launch, or I could get one from Paper Republic. So that's one thing that's missing. It's just a leather cover. But when I get that leather cover, much like the leather cover for the Travelers items, there's going to be two bands inside. So one will be for my planner, and the other I can use for a creative or crafting or otherwise notebook. And one of the viewers last week asked me about that. Of all the 2026 stuff that you've shown us, I don't really see what you're doing for your creative, etc. Well, this is part of it, right? Like I collage on every surface that's blank anyway, but I really do want a notebook that's just devoted. And so because I'm going with A4, I don't have anything that size. I have a sketchbook that's Archer&Olive. I've shown you guys. That's an 8x8. That's going to be an awkward size in that book. So if you have any thoughts about, if you have any thoughts about, I don't know, notebooks that are good mixed media material for like collage, painting, etc., please let me know in the comments, because I could keep my eye out for that to go with my A4 cover, regardless of when or where I get it. At some point, I'll want that in there. So yeah, I would just be curious to know if you have some thoughts about that. Obviously, I have no trouble finding places to collage. I will collage on anything, anywhere. And this is some tissue paper from a gift that a friend sent, and the tissue was in the package. Let me see if I can find a piece. Here it is. And I told her the day I got the package, like, I loved what was in it, but oh my gosh, I ripped the package apart and was like, that's going to be collage. What I like to do with my little notebooks is give them some personality and get rid of kind of blank pages and get some cover art on there. This one, I just put a little sticker on. I actually glued this down with some tape and then put a sticker on it. I just kind of like the look of the Travelers info on that for some reason. But yeah, normally I'll just collage right over. And so I've got this one that we discussed. I'd like to get a cover on it. And I've got this one, which is that dot grid that's going to be my to-do list. And what I like to do with these sometimes is actually this number. Rather than make a collage, I'll make a collage across them, which is what I'm going to do right now. So I just kind of pulled some papers that were sort of speaking to me. I don't know why this floral metallic has just been my jam this year. I just kind of can't get enough of it. So yeah, let's work on that. So we're going to have a little collage session here together. And while that happens, voiceover Andrea is going to be sharing some deep thoughts. My word for the year is joy, as I shared last week. And I really loved hearing all of your words for the year. I'm going to share all of those here in a moment. But I wanted to share a thought. One of the commenters mentioned that her word for the year this year, her focus is be brave. And I really thought about that a lot, because one of the things that's become really clear to me in my last 5 or 6 years is I've worked so hard on getting quiet and taking all the extra noise out of my life and getting really focused on who I am, how I'm feeling, and what it is that I can do to most benefit myself and others. It occurred to me, or I discovered through this, that I have a lot of fear in me. And as I've mentioned to you guys here, I'm working with a therapist right now, and we are working on that. But I think a lot of people carry fear. I think it's innate and it makes sense. But how does that fear impact us every day? And it's funny because I feel like I've done a lot of work to break through fear. But you know what? It comes up all the time. And I realized as I was thinking about this that I actually had a lot of fear about choosing the word joy. I know that I had fear that it was self-involved at a time that the world is hurting. It felt possibly, was it inconsiderate of me to choose a word like joy when there is so much confusion and discomfort in our world right now? I wondered if it felt almost like an arrogance, maybe to it, something, selfishness. So in December, I was kind of on the fence about what my word was going to be. And very subconsciously, fear was pulling at me a bit about whether or not to choose that word. And I came across Pema Chodron's Facebook page on December 28th. I follow her anyway. She's a Buddhist nun. If you don't know her, she is really fun to follow. And Pema posted on December 28th this post I'll share with you. Times are difficult globally. Awakening is no longer a luxury or an ideal. It's becoming critical. We don't need to add more depression, more discouragement, or more anger to what's already here. It's becoming essential that we learn how to relate sanely with difficult times. The earth seems to be beseeching us to connect with joy and discover our innermost essence. This is the best way that we can benefit others. Obviously, the timing of that was really critical for me. It was on December 28th, and yeah, it was just critical for me. I can't serve well if I have wrapped myself in a suit of armor made of anger. And one thing I have come to understand about me is that joy and happiness are very vulnerable emotions. They are emotions that don't come naturally to me. I have to pull them forward. I have to make them my focus. On my own, I will default into fear and anger very quickly. There's certainly a lot of history and reasons for that. I think we're all very different when it comes to these things, but that's kind of my innate default. When I go into fear and anger, those things do definitely feel protective. They put this suit of armor on me, right? But you know what's ironic about it is that you would think if I step into a suit of armor, that what I'm going to do with that anger or that fear and this giant glistening suit of metal is grab a sword and head out onto the battlefield and fight and be righteous, right? Wrong. When I put on that suit of armor that is fear and is anger for me, it actually is so heavy that it locks me in my place. I cannot get out the front door. A suit of armor is darkness for me. I can't serve anyone, much less myself, when I am completely shrouded in that very protective land of very familiar emotion of anger or of fear. And so it's been a big breakaway for me to strip that armor off, be vulnerable enough to attempt to find peace, find happiness, to actually step out and blink my eyes open into the sunlight and say, okay, I'm going to take on some joy now. I'm going to take on some peace now. And truthfully, I believe that I can serve the world in a better place as a better person when I have joy and happiness in my own heart. That is how I open myself up to hear a friend who is struggling or understand a situation that's happening, find compassion for people that I'm otherwise might be confused by. Yeah, it's just a whole better place for me across the board. And so yeah, I choose joy, and that is the word that I have selected. So I'm going to do a little journal prompt and share with you the words that you guys have selected. So let's check that out. Be brave, glimmer, nest, harmony, rediscover, core values, simple abundance, joy. So here's our prompt for this week. So together for 2026, let us be brave and find the glimmers, embrace our homes as we nest and create harmony, rediscover our hearts, and let our core values carry us as we embrace the simple abundance that is joy.